Curse the wretch who sullied my good name. Reverse course and full speed away.
Director Cosmos, wait!
I'll handle this, Daddy. Take that!
Ah! The mobility system has been compromised.
Trucy's knife throw was a direct hit to one of his tires.
And the streak continues.
Maybe I should have kept a closer watch on what tricks she's been practicing.
My dear old battleship, we fought many a skirmish together. It has been an honor.
Daddy, he's gonna blow that thing up!
Nah, I bet all that button will do is make it go haywire again.
Very well, I surrender. As a prisoner of war, I expect to be treated honorably.
Director Cosmos, when you were talking in court about switching the launch pads, you used your right to remain silent about the reason as to why. I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the two launch pads to begin with.
Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. The center of the universe is shrouded in mystery, but I don't have any secrets left. Now that my battleship has been destroyed, and I have been taken prisoner.
No secrets left, huh? I beg to differ. Looks like I'll have to undo his cyclops if I want to get to the bottom of this. Take that! I want you to tell me everything you're hiding about the switching of the launch pads.
I refuse. You can't make me. I could hold out longer than anyone.
I hope I never get like this when I'm old. Now, let's see. Where to start? This is how you explained your motive for switching the launch pads. You did it. Thanks to you switching the launch pads, the astronauts escaped injury from the blast. Instead, they safely boarded the museum's rocket, far away from the actual explosion.
My astronauts were raring to go out on an authentic adventure in space. How do you propose I had them board a fake rocket without them noticing?
I agree you couldn't have done it without help. For one, they would have figured it out the instant they stepped into the Space Museum. You figured you could fool Mr. Starbuck once he'd been drugged with his medication, but without the help of this person, it would have been impossible to pull your plan off. Take that! You must have gotten Mr. Terran to help you. He stole the tranquilizers from his mentor's locker and slipped them to him. And then, with Mr. Starbuck in a daze, they boarded the replica rocket in the museum.
Ah! Someone please help this old prisoner of war!
How was he able to spin around like that? If you really wanted to save the astronauts' lives, shouldn't you have just called off the launch?
If I could have done that, do you think I would have gone to all that trouble?
I guess he must have had a compelling reason for why he couldn't call it off. But how did you know to switch the pads in advance of the bombing incident?
Well, that's because I was warned in advance. Once I received that warning, it was my duty to ensure my astronauts' safety.
But it was just a warning. It could even have been a prank. Why did you believe in it so completely?
Because I went to one of those mediums that everyone's talking about these days.
Oh? I didn't realize channeling was back in vogue. Besides, I thought it was you yourself that got the warning via telephone.
Yes, that's right. The bomber contacted me personally. My battleship is equipped with an advanced communication system, you see?
AKA a regular old telephone.
It's been a while. Planning another launch. I see you haven't learned. I'll never forget the terror I felt when I received that call.
The bomber said, "It's been a while?" And that was enough to make you take the threat seriously? Perhaps Director Cosmos took the threat so seriously because the Space Center had been involved in a bombing once before. Maybe the culprit in the current case is the same person who's involved in this incident. The HAT-1 miracle, that epic story of survival. People across the nation know it now as a heroic tale of bravery. But in truth, it was an act of sabotage perpetrated by our current killer, wasn't it? Very few knew about the previous plot, so when the caller said, "It's been a while," you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the danger was real, and it wasn't a prank.
Ah! Didn't anyone ever tell you to go easy on an ex-serviceman? Yes, the HAT-1 miracle was really a desperate battle against an act of sabotage. I even lost the life of one of my staff members in the fight.
Sabotage, murder. So this is the ugly truth behind the HAT-1 miracle.
I let my guard down. I thought the saboteur had been caught, and that the case was closed.
Huh? Wait a minute. The murder at the Space Center 7 years ago! This must be the person Director Cosmos thought was the culprit. Take that! Simon Blackquill, the murder suspect in a case that happened here 7 years ago. The place and time of the two incidents, the murder and the sabotage, were the same. So you thought that he committed both crimes. But while Prosecutor Blackquill was behind bars, you got another threatening call. If the culprit this time is the same as 7 years ago, then it isn't Simon Blackquill. Realizing that, you were shaken. It means the true culprit's been running free all this time.
How do you keep seeing straight through me?
The reason why Director Cosmos won't talk about why he switched the launch pads is connected to the truth behind the HAT-1 miracle. The sabotage and murder that happened at the Space Center 7 years ago. Director Cosmos, tell us what you're hiding!
If you really want to understand the reason I decided to switch the launch pads, we'll have to start with the story of that horrible nightmare from 7 years ago.
7 years ago? You mean the so-called HAT-1 miracle?
The launch went smoothly, but once the ship entered outer space, then the troubles began. It was all the handiwork of a certain person and their evil scheme.
So Mr. Starbuck's traumatic experience wasn't accidental.
Not only that, but before the launch, a very valuable piece of moon rock was stolen. But that wasn't the worst of it. One of my staff members was murdered.
Wow. I had no idea such awful events were behind that exciting story of space heroism.
All that, in spite of the Space Center having very strict security in those days. All personal effects were examined thoroughly, coming or going. You couldn't even smuggle a wither or leaf through those checkpoints.
So, do you have any clue who was responsible for the sabotage?
At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackquill. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what that person is. But it's simply a spy.
A spy? You mean somebody who infiltrates a foreign country, carries out dangerous missions and always gets the girl.
Someone's watching way too many late-night movies. Well, I guess if we're talking about blowing up a rocket and stealing research material, it's not all that surprising that a spy could be behind it all.
Make no mistake, there's cutthroat rivalry between nations in the space R&D race. Some try to outdo others by any means possible, even deliberate obstruction. 7 years ago, we got a call before the launch warning us of sabotage.
The same MO as this time.
Yes, and here I thought the perpetrator had been caught, but it looks like I was wrong.
Prosecutor Blackquill seems more like a ninja than a spy, don't you think?
Aren't ninjas and spies basically the same thing?
But there's a good reason we failed to find the real spy. A massive cover-up by the government. Government officials were too embarrassed to admit that they allowed such a thing to happen at the hands of a spy.
Don't tell me they made the police rush the investigation.
They did indeed, and then to cover up the sabotage they cleaned up the story.
And that was the HAT-1 miracle, wasn't it? But then, 7 years later, the same MO, advance warning of sabotage. That must have been the director's reason for switching the launch pads. 7 years ago, the spy gave you advance warning of their plans, just like this time. That was what made you decide to switch to launch pads, wasn't it?
That's right. The caller knew the facts of the case 7 years ago, despite the cover-up. They knew about the sabotage, the moon rock, the murder, and they said, "You don't want the things to go like they did 7 years ago, do you?" I immediately thought of calling off the launch, but the government wouldn't let me. We don't give in to the likes of terrorists. We must proceed for our country's honor. It was quite a moving speech, actually.
Moving? Really? Maybe if you're easily inspired by political talking points.
But I knew the truth. We had been warned, which meant that the danger was very real. And I knew there was no way to stop the spy. No matter what I did, they would find a way. That's why I switched launch pads and staged the moving rescue scene. First, I snuck into the center the night before and switched launch pads. That way, the astronauts would go from boarding lounge 1 to the Space Museum. Then I put a "Closed for repairs" sign at the door to launch pad 1 in boarding lounge 2.
You did that so normal visitors wouldn't enter, right? What else did you do?
I enlisted the help of several staff members, including Taryn.
But you didn't let Mr. Starbuck in on it?
He'd already been through enough, and he's no good at lying to keep a secret. I'm afraid I had no choice but to have him drugged. My plan went well, until...
Clay's murder. Huh.
After the culprit made their escape, I switched the launch pads back. I did it in such a way that no one would find out, but after all that effort... Taryn is dead, and the HAT-2 is destroyed. And the Hope capsule, which had returned to us only recently, was also lost in that blast. My home, the center of the cosmos. My beautiful Cosmos Space Center is done for!
Wait, what did he mean by the Hope capsule was lost in that blast? I thought that the Hope capsule was found at the crime scene with Mr. Terran. It had just been brought back by the Hope space probe with asteroid samples inside. So, what kind of samples are they? What's in them?
The samples are scheduled for analysis in the near future. We haven't had time since they just came back the day before Terran's murder. The capsule is being held in a safe in Launch Pad 1. But I gave it to Terran before the incident so it wouldn't be destroyed in the explosion. The idea was that with it safely in Terran's possession, he could make it look like he rescued it during the staged miraculous escape. But our precious research materials ended up lost in that explosion anyway.
But I thought Clay was supposed to keep it safe.
You misunderstand. The launch pad explosion wasn't the one the capsule was lost to. It was lost after the police confiscated it as evidence. It was the courtroom bombing from the other day. The capsule was there in the courtroom as evidence and was blown to smithereens.
Yet another casualty of that blast.
Ultimately, I think the culprit may have known about the switching of launch pads.
What? How?
The police found a wiretapping device during their investigation today. A bug aboard my battleship. A tap on my advanced communication system!
A wire on that phone?
Yes, a wire on this very phone. I used this phone to give instructions to my staff about the launch pad switch. Just to the few select members who knew about the plan. Just before the incident, staff members were coming in and out of Launchpad 1. The culprit probably slipped in with them amid the confusion.
And planted the bomb then. Yes, if they were tapping your phone, they definitely could pull something like that off. So you really think this same spy is behind this incident and the one 7 years ago?
Yes, I'm sure of it.
Then this spy must be the phantom Prosecutor Blackquill has been chasing.
But Prosecutor Blackquill told me once. The hunt I've been on for the phantom of 7 years past continues even still. Well, for starters, that case happened right here at this very space center, too.
So if we can find this phantom...
That's right, we can clear Athena's name. And then there's the matter of Prosecutor Blackquill, too.
What about him?
Well, if the culprit of 7 years ago is the same person as in the current incident, it would mean Prosecutor Blackquill is innocent. That's still an if, though.
I wonder how dangerous that guy would be in court without handcuffs. But if we're going on a ghost hunt, count me in.
It's all over for me! Spin, spin, whirl, whirl, I'm done for! The center of the cosmos is doomed!
Do you think he's going to be alright, Daddy?
Well, at least he'll be in good company. There must be planets out there he can spin with. Which reminds me, I'd like to delve a little deeper into the HAT-1 mission, too.
If you want to learn more, start with the Space Museum. There's an HAT-1 exhibit there. Oh, don't mind me, I'll just keep spinning here and see how the cosmos unfolds.
It's like he achieved spiritual enlightenment or something.
I'm sure he'll stop when he gets dizzy. Let's go visit the Space Museum.
Very well. I surrender. As a prisoner of war, I expect to be treated honorably.
Director Cosmos, when you were talking in court about switching the launch pads, you used your right to remain silent about the reason as to why. I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the two launch pads to begin with.
Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. The center of the universe is shrouded in mystery, but I don't have any secrets left. Now that my battle...
And the streak continues!
Maybe I should have kept a closer watch on what tricks she's been practicing.
My dear old battleship, we fought many a skirmish together. It has been an honor.
Daddy! He's gonna blow that thing up!
Nah, I bet all that button will do is make it go haywire again.
Curse the wretch who sullied my good name. Reverse course and full speed away.
Director Cosmos, wait!
I'll handle this, Daddy. Take that!
Ah! The mobility system has been compromised.
Trucy's knife throw was a direct hit to one of his tires.
The ship has been destroyed, and I have been taken prisoner.
No secrets left, huh? I beg to differ. Looks like I'll have to undo his psych logs if I want to get to the bottom of this. Take that!